Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Chakwadash. Double honors unto our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Much peace and blessings to all you since I came out there that's pushing this 100% truth with all sincerity, faith, and with charity. This is your brother Ashman of Great Millstone, Miami Camp, coming back with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai. Lowell in this lesson is edifying, and in this lesson I want to share some wisdom, some biblical wisdom on how we, and when I say we, I'm speaking as men, Hebrew Israelite men of the various tribes. That's who we do these videos for. Okay, we are not concerned with the other nations, but as the spirit has been going out, start with Apostle Tahar and other apostles and elders. As men, we should be stoic, okay? And Apostle Tahar always goes into the Stoics and the Epicureans, which were two schools of thought. All right, going back to the ancient Roman times, in the ancient Roman Empire. So he always goes into the difference between the Stoics, which the Stoics were men that were like hard, hard, masculine men, disciplined. That's how a man should be, okay? Of course, they had extremes, and it goes deeper, but that's, as men, we should be more leaning towards a Stoic than an Epicurean. The Epicureans were more concerned with pleasures and basically living their life, which the scriptures speak about both. Honesty, King Solomon, the wisest man, spoke about enjoying yourself and not destroying yourself through being over righteous, which you had them of the school of the Stoics that that were totally extreme with it, and the Lord ain't dealing with that either. So you have to find a balance, but you should be leaning more towards a Stoic than an Epicurean, especially in the times that we're in now, knowing what we're getting ready to go into. We're getting ready to go into pure evil, which is bad times. And we have to prepare our minds for that time, okay? Because someone that's a Epicurean, they're going to have a much harder time with what's coming, which the scriptures say the mighty men are gonna cry bitterly. So if the Lord ain't with you, you out of there, no matter how hard or stoic you think you are. But at least in the very beginning, okay, which we're starting to see right now, the people in the Epicurean spirit, they losing their damn mind. People that are stoic, they are having a better time keeping it together. Okay, but one of the main Stoics, when you get into reading about Stoicism, is Marcus Aurelius, which was a Jake. Apostle Hart, always goes into the history of Marcus Aurelius. Was a Roman, a Caesar, and he was a Jake. This was after Jake started to take over the Roman Empire. Okay, And in particular, what I want to speak on in this lesson concerning Stoicism is meditating on your own mortality, thinking of your own mortality, which we're gonna go and get some scriptures, and we're gonna go to the chief philosopher, King Solomon himself, right? Or philosopher, lover of wisdom. So really, King Solomon was the chief philosopher that really inspired a lot of these other people, the world actually. Okay. Uh, and I just did a search. Think of Death Daily, Stoic quote. All right, that's what I want to talk about in this lesson. Thinking about your death daily. That's something that we have to do. Being in this truth, because we are not exempt from death. We are in the flesh. We're in mortal bodies. Lord willing, we're of the elect, and we won't taste of death. We understand some brothers gonna have to, experience transition, if you will, because there's no real death, anyways. But we understand what's getting ready to come and what's at stake. Okay, our lives are on the line. The scriptures say, "Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life." So that's something we have to consider. That's part of counting the cost, right? But even before that, we have to remember daily that you can die. We can die any day. You could step outside and get in a car and on your way to work and get into a crash and die. Okay, just my short time in this truth, I've heard of multiple brothers passing away. Okay, and Lord willing, we're gonna see all those brothers again, be risen up first actually. But certain brothers pass car crash, you know, uh, natural cause, so called sickness or whatever. You know, certain brothers can get hit with straight bullets. It happens. Okay, because the Lord is, which the scripture, the Lord can just call you home. It's just your time, and He just wants you to, come back to the spiritual realm. I tell you one thing for sure though. One way a brother didn't pass away is is from taking the jab. All right, certain brothers pass away through for the gospel's sake. That's happened. Standing stiffly for the name of the Lord. So it can happen. That's something we have to think about. And this is a quote from Marcus Aurelius, right? It says, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly." You see that? What's this? What this says? Okay, yeah, and it goes on to say, "What does it transmit light creates its own darkness." Hey, so right, what's anything that's not adding to your life, you subtract it, but you really won't be able to properly analyze that or take a good look to see it. Is a better way to get that perspective is by thinking of yourself as dead. That gives you a more profound view on life and what really matters and what doesn't. Okay, you may be doing something or talking to somebody and be like, if is this the last person I talk to? How would I feel? You know, it's like, is this person even really worth my time, or is this thing or this place? It goes on. Here's some other. Okay, memento mori. Remember, you must die. This reminder is meant to inspire, motivate, and clarify, not to be morbid or promote fear. Right? Seneca said, "Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day." Okay? Epictetus said, "Keep death and exile before your eyes each day, along with everything that seems terrible." You see, so you gotta, something we talked about, starting with our apostles and elders and brothers on down, that I've talked about, right? You have to prepare for the worst, in a sense, spiritually, mentally, prepare for the worst. But expect slash pray and then expect for the best case scenario. But you have to prepare for the worst case scenario. That's how you build a strong mind. Okay, weak people have weak minds because they don't think about bad. They don't want to think about bad stuff. They don't want to meditate on it. So they don't prepare their minds for it. So they have a weak mind. It's better to have a strong mind and nothing happen than to have a weak mind and something happen, because you never thought about certain things. Mentally prepare yourself for certain things. You ask yourself certain questions. If this happened, what would I do? Actually realize that certain things is a possibility and that it can happen, instead of just being naive and oblivious, which is really you tempting the Lord. If you really get deep into it, you tempting the Lord unknowingly, kind of, because you thinking, you really putting the Lord in a box, thinking He will never do something, or something could never happen. And that's foolish to think that way, because that's prideful as well, to think something can't happen to you. Oh, I thought it's a thing that's never happened. Well, why not? What made you special to, if it can happen to somebody, why can't it happen to you? Or us, I'm talking to myself first and foremost. I've been in positions where I never thought I could be in. And I'm pretty sure y'all, you brothers, feel the same. Because as we know, as the scriptures say, man prepare his mind, but the Lord guide his steps. Roughly paraphrasing. So we don't have any control. So knowing you don't have much control, think about these things, man. Especially knowing we're going into the worst times of all. Of course, we know the Lord is with us, and we pray and have faith. But you never know. You never know. Read the scriptures. Read what things that the men of the Lord went through and had to go through. The scriptures say, with much tribulation shall we enter into the kingdom. Those IUIC guys, they don't like that, talking about stuff like this. ICPK guys, they don't, and GLCC, they not having these conversations. They in a party spirit, Hebrew homeboy spirit. The Hebrew homeboy ain't gonna watch this video. Okay? Because they just want to party. Okay? It sums up, says the Stoics believe that contemplating death could help people find calm. Right, it does, because you're gonna get into it, but especially if you you're getting older, or you're in a situation where you going to war or something, you could possibly die. Instead of being afraid of the unknown, you meditate and know that it's coming. It's inevitable. That's in a natural sense. But how much more of us in the truth is you can replace the death, because it cannot necessarily have to be death, but we do know that our lives here will come to an end very soon. This world is dying. This empire, this kingdom is dying. Okay? Lord willing, the Lord gives us a spirit to endure to the end so we can actually see it be totally destroyed and accomplished. Alright? But you never know. And that's being humble. That's being real with yourself. That's being real with Yahweh Bashmel Shai. Because we deserve death, that's for sure. They thought that by meditating on death daily, people could live their lives to the fullest and not waste a second. So knowing that the time is running out, knowing that the time is short, shit, Esau know the time is short. The scripture said the devil shall come down with great wrath, knowing that he hath but a short time. So Esau meditating on his end daily. Every second he can't stop thinking about it. And he's going balls to the wall. So how much more should we? Knowing that we're on the winning side. We're on the winning side, but our seats on the chariot is not. You don't have the ticket in your hand. You don't have the verification with your name stamp. You know what I'm saying? We don't know for sure. But we do know if we fight to the end and endure to the end, we will win. Okay. What's this? Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Oh, right. This is good. Alright. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 2. Right? This is the wisdom of King Solomon. Right? The highest philosopher, if you will. Most wisest king ever. Kings and wise men and philosophers of all around the world came to visit King Solomon to learn of his wisdom. And this is what he had to say concerning death, immortality, and how we should view it, right? This is Ecclesiastes 7 and 2. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. For that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart. So it's better to be in the mindset, right? Not necessarily actually going to a house. It's more so a mindset. Now, of course, you have houses of mourning with like a funeral or that's basically really the only physical place you'll go to, because nobody really seeks out mourning, right? But having a mindset of knowing what's to come, knowing the seriousness, the gravity of death, and how can it, the scriptures say we live in the valley of the shadow of death. We're surrounded with death. Don't be ignorant of it, right? It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, right? And in the NLT, it says what? Better to spend your time at funerals than at parties. After all, everyone dies, so the living should take this to heart. You see that? You got people that live their whole life and they don't think about death until they on their deathbed. Now they scared to death and end up dying before they were supposed to, because they just so scared, because they never gave it any thought their whole life, and they could have made peace with it 20 years prior, and would have had a much smoother and peaceful transition. But no, they chose to ignore the Lord and ignore the order, the natural order that the Lord set up. Right? Thinking they gonna burn in hell, or thinking this gonna happen. No, if they would have actually gave thought to it 20 years ago, they could have found out the truth that you just go back to the spiritual realm. Okay, and the Lord has you sit and wait in the spiritual realm. You rest, you're at peace, and then He sends you back on earth again after a few generations through your seed, or your seed line, or the seed line you come from, if you don't have any children. All right, verse 3 in the KJV, it says, "Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance the heart is made better." You see that? So laughter is like the scriptures. Even people say in the world, laughter is the best medicine. Laughter it has its place. It's a time to laugh. It's a time to party. Those things help ease the mind, right? Take the load off, take the stress off. But even the Esau signs tell you there's a such thing as a healthy stress, right? Having healthy fear. That sorrow, thinking of actually grave things, things that have more weight, more matter, substance, gravity, that sharpens your mind. Okay, and that brings you up on a higher level of intelligence when you actually think of the more serious matters of life. Because low-level people they don't like to think about stuff like that, because it's too heavy for their mind. So they prioritize their thinking on more base and monotonous things that truly have no meaning in the end. Okay? The NLT says, "Sorrow is better than laughter, for sadness has a refining influence on us." So, a refining influence, meaning it purifies your mind. Not only you get on a higher level, mentally, but you treat yourself better, you treat others better. You have a more positive outlook on life. Things don't bother you as much. You don't sweat the small stuff because you're thinking of bigger things. Okay? Verse 4 in the KJV, it says, "The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth." NLT, a wise person thinks a lot about death. You see that? A wise person thinks a lot about death. So these stoic quotes from guys like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, that all goes back to the Bible. That all goes back to the wisdom of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai through his men that he set up, the prophets. And King Solomon definitely was a prophet. He was called the preacher. That was another, the Ecclesiastes, that's how it begins. The words of the preacher, roughly paraphrasing, which the word preacher is synonymous with prophet. So King Solomon most definitely was a prophet, a high level prophet, and we know who he is in the spirit. Okay. Again, a wise person thinks a lot about death, while a fool thinks only about having a good time. You see that? And you have a lot of fools, they go out every night thinking about having a good time, or go out every day. I'm about to have a good day today. I'm gonna have a good time. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that, and they don't make it home that night. They don't make it back home. They don't even make it to where they're going. Okay, it happens. It happens all the time. Sometimes multiple fools at once go from cheering and laughing to dead in a matter of seconds. And it could be instant, it could be quick, it could be slow and bloody and very painful. But if they had considered that prior to going out, it could have stopped them from going out. It could have, prayed potentially before going out. They could have, took more precaution in what they were doing. Maybe they would have went somewhere else, or they would have thought about it more, and it probably wouldn't have happened. You see that? So that's just some quick wisdom that I wanted to share and speak on through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmiel Shalom. When it was edifying. With that, I'm gonna give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bashmiel Shine. To the next one, Shalom.